So, Candace Owens, the family favorite, not. A couple days ago, posted this video, and I only scrolled through it, and I was actually flabbergasted by how dishonest it was. Which I know, it's Candace Owens. Am I really, how can I possibly be surprised, right? Fair, but still. So, anyway, this video by Candace Owens is called Women Are Tired of Working 40 Hours a Week. Men, on the other hand, we're chill, but women are tired of it. That's what the title is. Let's go ahead and see what she's going over, and let's see if this is going to be honest or not.
A lot of young women who are now in the workforce, that promised feminist dream, feminist glory. You're going to love it. You're going to be just like men. Male parity is what we want. We want to work 40 hours a week.
By the way, feminism, to my understanding at least, absolutely never was preaching that, like, women working, that's the best thing ever. That is literally heaven. It was simply that if men are able to go and work and build up a life for themselves, women should be able to also. No one said working is going to be the best thing ever, but you know what? Being able to make your own life is pretty good. And it wasn't fair that women were deprived of that opportunity, whereas men weren't.
Yeah, they're kind of figuring out that that's not really that great. You're not making that much money. You're working a lot of hours. You don't have that much time for yourself. And they are sharing their feelings with the internet because that's what you're supposed to do on TikTok. You're supposed to trauma dump, and she is dumping some of this trauma, but I'm glad she is. Take a listen to this young woman.
Why is it that I have to work 40 hours a week just so I can have a place to live? So I work 40 hours a week so I can
So
have
instantly, you know what I'm going to say, right? About Candace Owens' dishonesty. This clip immediately that she's playing, you can tell is about the current economy and how frustrating it is that wages have not adequately kept up with inflation, and how our great-grandparents used to buy a house for $50 after getting a college degree for $12. Now all of that's changed. She's literally complaining, yes, about the price of living. This is a problem with the overall economy. This is a problem affecting everybody.
a 2-bedroom apartment and an extra $300 a month. So not only do I not have any extra money, but just working makes me so exhausted. And I don't want to do that anymore, right? Like, I don't care how poor and miserable I would have to be, but I literally can't have a place to live without this, you know? Like, I don't know what to do. I'm not made for this.
Yeah, you know, a lot.
So I feel like Candace is going to totally misinterpret the part where she says, I'm not made for this. Anybody could be saying that, meaning that they're not made to be working so much to not see the fruits of their labor, to not feel like they can adequately afford the cost of living. I don't feel like I'm made for this. This is not her saying it's because she's a woman or some shit.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are making fun of her, but I feel her. I feel like we should answer her question. She is asking why, right? Why is this the circumstance? Well, the answer,
Feminism.
sweetheart, is because big, bold, bad feminists came before you and insisted that women could be just like men. You know, we obviously are not just like men. We are different entirely from men, right? We are symbiotic with men, but our roles in life are not meant.
Again, she's misinterpreting feminists' arguments. Feminism is not that women and men are exactly the same. That's not what it is. But it's that society should be treating them the same as far as what they are allowed to do, what their rights are. If they are able to participate, or if men, are able to participate in the workforce, so should women. Women should be able to also. This isn't because men and women are exactly the same. Women and men might gravitate towards different jobs. However, they should still have equal rights to those opportunities and to the choices that they want to make.
but our roles in life are not meant to be the same. And I'm speaking strictly
Oh,
biologically. Men are wired different than women.
you realize that if we want to talk about biology, what do these people talk about a lot? What do these conservative types talk about a lot? Isn't it about how the men were the hunters and the women were the gatherers? Well, you know what gathering took? You know that in order to be a quote unquote gatherer at the time, this was not just like go outside and pick a flower. No, this was like grueling work in the garden, gathering food and nutrients from trees and plants and whatnot. That was work. So even if you want to go back to some biological thing, which is stupid, by the way, obviously applying some biology thing to women don't want to work, men do because of biology is so unbelievably stupid. But even if you wanted to take it that route, your own biological argument contradicts that.
Feminists came around and they kind of transgendered people in the mind. They brainwashed women into believing that they could be just like men. Here, take a birth control pill. You won't get pregnant. You can instead go to work, right? Work just alongside your male counterparts. And women are realizing that despite this dream that's sold to you, despite being propagandized in the school system, it's going to be so great. This is about freedom.
She's just lying. Who is saying this? It's about freedom to make your own choices and pursue your own opportunities. It's not that having a job is going to give you freedom and ultimate purpose.
That actually women are kind of miserable. That maybe Mother Nature had some things right. Maybe just the ability to be able to have children, to be able to feed children naturally from your body.
What do women, when they're taking care of the home and taking care of kids, what would you generally define that as, Candace? Work. You f***ing idiot. I don't even know where to go from this. Like, okay, so because women have the potential to have babies, that means they shouldn't be working? I don't understand. Oh yeah, also, I wanted to address that also. The women are kind of miserable. People are miserable nowadays. Unhappiness rates across the board are going up, Candace. Something is clearly wrong here. And Candace, I hate to break it to you, what is wrong is not because women have rights.
To be able to feed children naturally from your body, it means, call me crazy, that you might be more naturally inclined to raise children.
This is literally false. If you look at female caregivers, for example, they have way higher rates of depression, neglecting their own health, loneliness, sadness, and all kinds of other issues. They report more unhappiness when they are in caregiving positions, Candace. Stay-at-home moms have really high rates of depression. What if someone's born, okay, what if you have a woman born and she doesn't have a uterus, okay? So she can never have kids. What's her natural inclination now? Is it maybe to just go off to work after all? Let me pull up my research here so that I can further explain how Candace is a liar. My research, haha. Women can be great nurturers, but so can men. The evidence available suggests that regardless of a natural inclination, expecting women to act as caregivers contributes to more stress. Record high 56% of US women prefer working to homemaking. Given the choice between working or staying home to take care of the house and family, a record high 66% of US adults would prefer to work, while women's preference to work outside the home, 56%, continues to lag behind men's. It's the highest point in roughly 3 decades. Women want to work despite workforce precarity. In America, women are now just as likely as men to report working because they want to, not because they must. An analysis by Bowling Green State University found that female and adult child caregivers generally reported having more negative experiences than male and spouse caregivers, with wife caregivers least likely to report positive experiences. And so I go into a little bit of the compassion side of things as well. I think that sometimes women are perceived as being more naturally nurturers because women tend to exhibit more compassion, especially the way that we sort of conceptualize compassion. So one reason we might think that women are more compassionate than men is that we think of compassion in only one way: nurturing, kindness, softness, gentleness, and emotional warmth. We think of compassion in what we would then also consider more feminized. However, expressions of deep compassion are not always nurturing or maternal. Think about, for example, The heroic acts that happen daily in which people throw themselves into dangerous situations to help others. These are fierce, courageous, and even aggressive forms of compassion. So rather than suggesting that women are more compassionate than men, I would argue that they can differ in their expression of compassion. Essentializing women as natural caregivers hurts men as well. How many times have we heard complaints about men being screwed over during divorce, particularly in regards to who gains custody of the children and child support? This is rooted in the essentializing ideals that women are just naturally caregivers. So those are just a couple things to keep into consideration, that even if there was some biological predisposition for women to be more nurturing or something, expecting like that's what they should be doing only causes harm. You're just forcing people into a box that they might not want to fit into. And by the way, if this many people are saying that they want to work and the numbers are this back and forth, then you're stupid to think that this is just some natural thing. It's way too subjective.
What I recognize, that I know what to do with the kids in a way that does not come as naturally to my husband. When talking about infants, women just know what to do. But you say these things and the feminists go, "Oh, how dare you say that? Men should be doing the exact same work." Okay, they can. Yeah, sure. You could beat it into a guy's head and say, "No, you must raise infants at home every day." But it's not what comes naturally to them.
What? You realize this whole notion of just like a nuclear family and the guy going off to work is relatively new? There used to be entire communities that would raise kids. Not to mention, it's also incredibly important for the early developmental years of the kid to have a good relationship, a close relationship with their father or with the other parent. Don't conservatives constantly talk about how important it is for there to be like a man in the house and everything? Also remember that the expectation of men to be working, the just expecting men to be natural workers and the women to be naturally at home, this literally f***s over men. Because then what you see happen is when men lose their job, they're more likely to get divorced because their self-esteem plummets, because their entire self-worth has been built on this idea that your value is only as important or is only so much as you can bring in, as you can bring back. So Candace, in her misinterpretation of this clip, in her anti-feminist soup brain ramble, she's also now shitting on men as well.
.com/Candace. What's interesting is that my colleague, Matt Walsh, who's always on Trouble on X, formerly Twitter, answered her. He responded to her, and this is what he had to say. He wrote, "Honestly, boggles my mind that so many people think 40 hours of work a week is a lot. That leaves you at
Leave it
least
to Matt Walsh to just like drop in and be like, how can I be the biggest asshole here?
5 or 6 waking hours a day during the week to yourself and 2 full days on the weekend. How much more free time do you really think you should have?" How interesting. Matt Walsh is a man. So yes, it comes naturally to him. I find that men are able to do the same thing.
Of course, Matt Walsh said that because he's a man. And as men, they naturally want to work, and that's why us femoids naturally want to be back subservient in the kitchen. Flexing on working 70 plus hours of work is sad. Oh yeah, that's incredibly sad. It's horrible for your mental health, for your well-being. It's no wonder that if Matt Walsh is actually working that much, that he's also like a miserable sack of shit.
Day in and day out like warriors. They're just biologically predisposed to doing these sorts of things. And women, when you see them in a household,
Did she just say that us men are like predisposed biologically to be warriors? Us men were designed by God to fight for Sparta.
and women, when you see them in a household, you see that the multitasking, the way that a woman is able to deal with a child that is screaming while also handling other things, we are designed in that way and in that.
Okay, multitasking. The woman at the work who's managing the store is also getting screamed at by a customer. She's able to handle being screamed at by the customer while also redirecting their complaints to corporate or something, while also ringing up another client. Who knows? You could put this exact same logic into the working world.
And unfortunately, women are not willing to just let go of this feminist narrative and to recognize that nothing.
Women are not willing to let go of this. It's almost like women don't want what you're saying, Candace. And if women don't want it, then that kind of just defeats the purpose. If this is something that comes natural, if this is something that is biologically innate, then it shouldn't be something that is fought against this viciously. If it's natural, you would see it just naturally happening.
That feminists convinced us of actually makes us happy today, right? It might help you pay your bills, bare minimum. But if we were looking before the explosion of second wave feminism, that young woman would likely have found a partner, right? She would likely have already been married. She may have one kid.
Really? So she should just go get a man. Because men have no problems. Remember not too long ago when conservatives were literally crying, pissing, and coming all at the same time over the fact that gas prices were going up and the fact that it was really expensive for people, for middle-class Americans to purchase groceries and whatnot? Remember we heard them all up in arms about Biden's America and Biden's economy? Apparently men were just immune to all that then. They had no problems, you know?
That young woman would likely have found a partner, right? She would likely
No,
have
she likely would have had to find a partner immediately so that she could survive in the society, regardless as to whether or not that partner was really the best thing for her, was really the best person for her, or maybe he was abusive, maybe he was a drunk. There were all kinds of there were higher rates of domestic abuse and whatnot back in this time also, because women had no choice. You're saying feminism is saying all these things that aren't really making women happy, but you're advocating they return to a life where women were not happy. You realize there were massive issues then with women abusing opioids and pills and medications and alcohol because of the stress of being trapped and expected to conform so strictly.
They told you that that was prison. Oh my gosh, why would you want that? That's absolute prison. One man going to work would have been enough because women were not yet in the labor force to support an entire family based on his income alone. And that was a different existence and a different world. But if you ask me, quite frankly, women were happier when I think about that. Okay. My grandma.
No, there were. It's first of all, it's debatable as to whether or not people were really happier back in like the 50s, 60s, and 70s. But generally, I think that they were, at least slightly. But again, this goes for men as well. And the reason for that is people just had more friends. Social media hadn't completely taken over. People weren't using social media as a replacement for social interaction. They only had social interaction. People had more friends. They were friends with their neighbors back then. There was a lot more face-to-face socialization that took place. And that's why generally people were a little happier and had higher rates of well-being. And now we're seeing that go down. This has absolutely nothing to do. This has all to do with feminism.
My mother was not crying every day on TikTok or.
Oh yeah, also thank you, chat, for reminding me. Of course, the economy was also better then. But even with that, I don't know how many people were really that much happier then.
Obviously didn't have TikTok, but crying every day about the stresses of what it was like to raise her children. She stayed at home, she raised her kids, she made dinner every single night, and that stuff made her whole. It's just a complete.
I guess you could say that women are like warriors, just getting up and doing the same thing every day, huh? How does she know that? She doesn't know that. She has a weird like pipe dream about this magical time that everything was perfect, which is not true. There never was such a time. But she thinks there was, and because of this, now she thinks that maybe, just maybe, if she keeps on LARPing here about how women should go back to the kitchen, I don't know, maybe she'll fill the void in her own soul.
Commentary saying this. He wrote, of course, the reason you see women in these videos so often is that most women don't actually want to work professional careers at all, but they've been pushed into this direction by society.
Why do you guys not say this about men? They will acknowledge men being lonely and men being more depressed and everything else. Maybe men don't want to work professional careers, but they've been pushed that way into society by, I don't know, YouTubers with 2 million subscribers saying that they as a man are naturally meant to be working. Like, what do you mean? Why do they never apply this both ways?
But even so, we should be clear that taking care of children will mean working more than 40 hours a week, a lot more. Life is work no matter how you slice it. Suck it up and deal with it.
Wait. Yeah, at least Matt acknowledges that taking care of children will mean working more than 40 hours of work. 40 hours a week, sorry. Let's see what Candace is going to say to this, because that sort of disproves what she's trying to say, right?
Yes, but it's different kinds of work, right? It is a different kind of work when I spend the entire day fully exhausted, by my children. Obviously, I have 3 of them now, and the oldest is 3. It's exhausting, but it's a different kind of work because it's rewarding, and I know what to do, and I am getting a sort of feedback that for me is so much more rewarding than you would get in the climate of an office. And maybe the feedback that I'm
So is this for you in your personal opinion then? So wait, is this one of the you like being at home with your kids more? So you're like, you know what? All women should be doing this. It's always the broad prescriptive claims, these broad claims regarding how you should act. And it always just stems back to how they feel like they should act. You're describing this different kind of work that could totally also still be found in a workforce. Like you said, an office job, right? Okay, well, maybe then you'd be better suited as a nurse. That sounds like a job where you're taking care of people, doing the same thing, know what to do.
maybe the feedback that a man gets when he climbs a corporate ladder, feels like he's going out to war and conquering. But these are things, again, that we should be willing to talk about, that we should be willing to acknowledge. Is it every single woman that feels this overwhelmed? No. But it is, in my view, a large majority of women who are feeling dissatisfied and are unwilling to look at the fact that it is our own fault for grabbing on to a radical.
First of all, we have the cringy women don't want to work anymore based off your misinterpretation of a clip that was just about like the struggle of the current day economy, had nothing to do with women. And now we've devolved all the way into, and so it sucks, right, women? Well, it's actually your fault.
Feminist movement, not our fault because we were younger and it happened before we were born, but we're still embracing those ideas and looking down.
Also, she's like, it's in my opinion, the majority of women are dissatisfied. Okay, not true. We now know that actually a little majority of women want to be working. The highest 56%, right? 56% of women, according to 2019 Gallup polls, wanted to work. You can't make a claim regarding the majority of something, of like a group, and not actually cite some kind of a statistic. Like that, you're making a literal empirical claim with no empiricism. That's like being like, it's in my opinion that there's probably like 5,000 trees back there. Like, okay, maybe, but like, I'm not going to just take your word for it if this is something meaningful.
Down upon women who are finally saying, no, thank you. We shouldn't look down upon them. I think that's the direction that we need to head toward.
I also really appreciate the hypocrisy of this working woman who has built a $1 million career on spreading bullshit is simultaneously saying that women would be better off not doing what she's doing. Obviously, there are ultimately problems with the economy. A lot of people are feeling dissatisfied. A lot of people are struggling. A lot of people don't feel like they're adequately able to afford the cost of living. This is a universal problem, and the expectation that women should be doing this and men should be doing that only hurts people. I think that Candace Owens, so that she's morally consistent, mind you, should actually have her husband take her phone away so that she can no longer say stupid shit publicly. I actually think that, if she wants to be morally consistent, she should hand over the control there to the person with the warrior gene. If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a member today. Members get early access to videos, access to all the stream VODs, and exclusive access to emotes as well. So if you'd like to support the channel, become a member today.